Hi there. Hey everyone, it's Jo Zulaika, founder of Women Who Lead with Heart. Hey, hey, it's Jo Zulaika, founder of Women Who Lead with Heart, the Facebook group for women who are on the move, who are strong and sensitive, who want to make a difference, and who want some support and free training. So, welcome to my group and welcome to my Sunday Night Live, playing it forward on a Monday night on a holiday weekend here in the United States. If you are logging on live, would you please say hi? Would you send me an emoji? Would you say hello from wherever you are in the world? And if you're tuning in on replay, give me a hashtag replay. I want to know who's out there. This is a funny forum to try to connect and feel some vibe going as a one way broadcast. So the more that I can hear from you, the better it is for us to be connected and to really have some juicy training. So, the topic tonight is all about boundaries and energy and how we can protect our positive state, our positivity, especially when, especially now, especially as there is so much division and controversy and impassioned differing beliefs out there in the world, out there in your families, out there in your neighborhoods, out there at your dinner parties. So I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to try to keep this neutral. And I don't want us to devolve into some like political, social justice debate, although that's exactly what's going on that is triggering so many of us and causing so much drama and challenge to us being able to just be civil and have, just sort of like healthy human relationships. Let me fix a little bump in my hair so you guys can see the put together me. So, I was at a dinner party over this long weekend, and I had thought that it was probably kind of what I would call a safe space, very small group of people that I thought would enjoy their company and the topics of conversation, and that we were fairly aligned in some of the more important ways that, to me, about how we feel about events going on in the world and I was just ready to have a nice evening. It's rare to be able to spend time with people face to face these days, and we had an outdoor small gathering dinner party with good social distance and as the evening went on, everything was pleasant and everything was actually aligned, as I would say. But when I came home, I was so agitated and so annoyed and so stirred up and so frustrated and so irritable after being part of the dinner dialogue that was very much about politics, about science, about human rights, about social justice, about topics that are very hot and very current in the United States today. And even though I was in alignment with the entire direction of the conversation, it was not a positive evening for me. It was not an enhancing evening for me because it was so negative. It was so steered towards all of the bad things that are happening and all the fears of what if and all of the um, reverberations of negative things that have happened out there in the world, like piling on as this small cadre of dinner goers were sort of chiming in and adding on and piling on all of the reasons why they were frustrated and so convinced that they were right. And even though I generally agreed with them, it wasn't the kind of environment I felt enhanced by. I didn't feel brought up. I didn't feel encouraged. I didn't feel energized. I actually felt like it was focused on division and negativity and separation and us versus them and sort of like just continuing to point out how vastly different and divided and crazy, stupid, weird this world is. And it had no redeeming value. It was like the same orchestra playing the same music to themselves that they already know in effort, I guess, to bolster their own opinion, their sense of righteousness, their sense of me too, their sense of, yes, we're the right ones, we're indignant, and we're angry and we're frustrated, and how could people not believe the way we do? This was not at all a helpful place for me to be. It wasn't sing out if you can kind of relate to this. This is, I think, what's going to be happening, especially in the United States, as we're coming into a big presidential election. It's going to be part of our social diet for the next few months until, and maybe not even until the important decision is made about who's going to be president for the next 4 years. So, what I'm talking about is my metaphor for this is like your energy is like a bucket, right? I have a bucket, it is mine, and I go and scoop my energy from the well of goodness. And if the bottom of my bucket has holes in it, then it's a leaky bucket. It is an inefficient, damaged, lesser than container for my positive energy, for the life force that is what helps me go do good in the world. If my bucket is leaking, then I'm energetically draining all over the place, not in a conscious, directed manner, not in a focused manner of where I want to put my water, where I want to pour my energy, but just sort of draining out from the underside because I am not controlling that container. You guys following my metaphor here? It is when you lose control over your own inner state and you allow some outer influence to draw and drain and drag you down. And what I like to say is no matter how righteous you might feel about your point of view and how committed you are to having your pure positive energy, if you are not maintaining your container, if you are not in charge of your bucket and the leaks that it has, then it's your deal. Energy is an inside job. It's not everyone else's job to agree with you, nor is it for you to just simply find the environment where you think that your bucket won't leak. It's your job to contain your energy and have that management of your energy so that you're not inadvertently leaking your energy everywhere. So I'm talking about like if you ever have that experience where you feel like you would say something like, oh, they really pushed my buttons, or they got my goat, or they made me mad, or they hurt my feelings. You are basically, if you hear the words behind that, all the action on you is controlled outside of you. They pushed my buttons. They got my goat. They made me mad. The entire goal of a highly self managed, highly emotionally intelligent person, an emotionally intelligent, strong, and sensitive woman, is for that not to be allowed. That your buttons are unpushable, your goat is ungettable. You are in control of your own environment, your own ecosystem, to the point that it doesn't matter what anyone else around you does, believes, says, votes, comments on, because your inner sanctum is your job to maintain and you are in control. It ain't easy. And I blew it this weekend. I came home frustrated and irritable and angry because I didn't want to spend my evening talking about everything that was wrong in the world and just piling on. It just wasn't a helpful conversation. So I blew it. I took responsibility and went, okay, I made some mistakes. So this is what I'm teaching you tonight. Where did you make some mistakes? Where did you make some assumptions? I made an assumption that because the group was very small and I knew everyone there and I thought I knew everybody's political and social leanings, that it was a safe place for me to let my hair down and just be easy. I made a mistake. I didn't realize that just listening to people talk about things that incensed them and made them angry and made them um, feel powerless or frustrated or nervous or anxious about the world we live in, I forgot that they might talk about things like that that would put punch holes in my bucket. And I forgot that I have all of these techniques that I like to use when it's time for me to really protect my energy. I'll teach a few of them to you, and I want to address the bigger picture that you might be wondering about too. So stay with me. I forgot that when I'm caught out and I'm in a dynamic that I don't want to be in, that I can control my participation in that dynamic. I don't have to stay seated at the table, and neither do you. I don't have to stay at the party, and neither do you. Of course, there's that part of you that thinks, well, there's the social mores, there's the, need to sort of keep up appearances, and I don't want to make anybody feel bad, and I don't want to create a scene, and I don't want to, create drama or disagree with people. I want to, participate. I don't want to not be invited next time. So there's all these reasons why you might want to talk yourself into sort of like going along to get along, which is sort of a cowardly move. I just want to call that out. It's not rocking the boat when the boat's already rocking. Your boat is rocking and you're taking on water, right? Let's keep using the metaphor. Your little ship is starting to take on water and your boat's starting to sink and you're trying to scoop it out with a leaky bucket. So so even though you might not want to say anything, and I get it, sometimes I don't want to say anything either. I will take control of my energy by doing some tactical tips. Are you ready? First of all, decide ahead of time. Decide ahead of time whether or not you feel up for the engagement, whether you feel up for the conflict, whether you feel up for the healthy debate that may devolve into some really heated, passionate name calling or calling out. Do you have the energy? Decide ahead of time how much are you going to engage, and don't just get swept away and find yourself caught up in an emotional turmoil. You get to decide how much you want to participate. So first of all, choose. It helps if you know that you're stepping into this new segment and you can think, okay, I'm going to go see some people. I'm going to be dining with people. I don't know who they are, or I do know who they are. I want to decide I want to control my energy tonight. Am I going to let it go? Do I feel feisty? Do I want to chime in? Do I want to participate? Or do I want to control my bucket of energy and not leak? Where am I with all of this? So, first of all, you decide. The second choice that you make is to plan for what happens if you get triggered. What happens if you actually get activated? What happens if somebody says something inadvertently insensitive? You want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You want to hope that they're not terribly sexist or racist. You want to hope that their political leanings don't involve hate and won't be so dismissive as to not include a potential possibility of somebody else being right. But you want to plan ahead just in case you get caught out and you get surprised by someone else's behavior, by someone else's belief, by someone else's indignance, by someone else's, you know, bias. So have an interrupter word. This is the first thing that I like to put in there. And I teach this to a lot of people who need to navigate really sticky social situations where if something comes across to you as off, as inappropriate, that you don't want to collude with, you don't want to just kind of involve yourself in that nervous social laughter where you let it go, or that shocked silence where you're like, wait, what? Be prepared so that you have this interrupter word, which means that you're at the ready for when and if something comes across your atmosphere that you disagree strongly with, that you think is inappropriate. You literally can just interrupt the flow of that dialogue by saying, wait, what? Or, I don't think I just heard that correctly. Did I? Or, did you just say what I thought you said? Or, huh, I don't understand why that's funny. Or, hmm, that's interesting. Or, wow, I didn't realize that someone would feel that way. Or, I would need to think about that before I would just go along further in the conversation. Or, huh, that's a surprising reaction to me. Do you see how all of those could just be you inserting some sort of interrupter to the flow of the conversation that says, I'm going to pump the brakes here. I'm not actually saying I'm all on board with the direction of this. I'm not nodding and smiling. I'm not um, colluding with easy pleasing you behavior. I'm not just going to be a people pleaser in this moment. So you can have an interrupter word. But if that feels too confrontational and you're like, nah, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I'm not always at the ready with whatever that's going to be. I get it. Especially women, especially people, and I'm speaking to my group, most of you are women, who are very adept at the social dynamic and understanding the energies and striving for harmony and feeling the the resistance to confrontation and conflict. You might be a tendency to sort of smooth things over or to make it easy for others. So if you're not comfortable with this interrupter word, you can try other things where you can say, you know what? I have a policy. I love this one. I have a policy. And my policy is I'm not going to be discussing this social justice issue tonight. That's my policy. I don't discuss it when I'm drinking. I don't discuss it when I'm dining out with people. I don't discuss it with people if I don't have time to really delve into the entire social political leanings that I have. Or if I don't have the energy. So my policy is I actually am not going to talk about this. So you could actually just prepare for it ahead of time. You can use humor. You can you can kind of just overstate it like, wait, what? We're not going there, are we? We're not really going to have sort of like a debate tonight, are we? Anything that helps you sort of like extricate yourself and plug up the holes in your bucket. Here's another way. I actually do the physical. I like to just physically use some interrupter where if I'm seated at the table, I stand up and say, excuse me, I need to go to the restroom, or does anybody want some Parmesan cheese? Or I'm going to go get the salt at the other end of the table, or my favorite, I'm going to check on the children. If there are kids around, they're a beautiful safe haven. I interrupt it by removing myself. No one is forcing you to stay in the conversation but you and your tendency to try to make things smooth and to smooth things over, to people please and to keep harmony. But if it's draining your bucket, get up. Get up and move. Get up and move and say, excuse me, I think I heard a bell go off somewhere in my head. Um, no one's forcing you. If that makes them uncomfortable, then great, because they made you feel uncomfortable 10 seconds ahead of time. Get used to it. Get used to finding the physical pivot. Where at this particular dinner party, that's exactly what I did. I stood up and I went into the kitchen and I kind of wandered around a little bit. I sliced a little bit more bread. I brought it back to the table. This conversation was still going on. I didn't sit down. Victory. I stayed in my pivot. I did not sit down and allow myself to get brought back into the conversation. I stayed standing and I kept moving. I started clearing some plates. I I asked if anybody wanted some more water, and then I went back in. Not no sooner than like 24 hours later, I found myself at another dinner party, and the same type of thing was happening. And this time, I went and found the kids. I went and sat with a little gaggle of preteen boys sitting in front of an Xbox playing a really silly game in the living room. And I sat with them and just watched their faces as they giggled because it was so hilarious what they were doing. And I thought, I'm going to choose to spend my energy here rather than over there. And when the other adults came and found me, I just said, check this out. These guys are playing this funny game. I'm hanging out with the kids. I don't owe anybody an explanation. I don't have to explain why I decided to extract myself from a heated debate or a conversation that was offensive. That's not my job. I don't have to. I could if I felt like I was up for it, if I felt like it was going to put more water in my bucket, if I felt so compelled, but I didn't. And so I made a choice to just remove myself. Hanging out with the kids. You can go pet the cat. You could go ask somebody to show them their garden. You can go out in the yard. And when somebody comes and finds you, like, what's up? You're like, I'm looking at the stars. I decided to listen to the crickets. I got distracted. I was inside and I thought I heard something. You don't owe anybody anything. You owe yourself your energy. That's what you owe. So don't worry about making it awkward. Worry about self protection. Worry about protecting your energy. It is important. So now's the part of the talk when I want to talk about where if you're listening, you're thinking, but isn't that cowardly to not stay in the conversation and stand for your truth and not to speak up? Isn't it selfish to only worry about what you feel and not try to raise everybody else's consciousness um, and and offer your opinion and your edification and help steer people to a higher ground? So we're talking about like your inside voice or your social voice saying, but it's selfish and cowardly to just worry about your own energy. And I will say, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it selfish. You can call it cowardly. You can just give yourself a break and say, you know what? Sometimes I am selfish. Sometimes I do bring all of my energy right back into my bucket because I got to get up tomorrow and go out and do the work. I got other people I need to speak to about this. I will speak about it when I feel ready. I get to choose. I see it as more empowered than selfish. I see it as more a decision than cowardliness. I see it as more emotionally elevated and mature than just getting swept into a very heated argument that you're not ready for or that where you won't participate in a well self-managed way and you might re, you might um, regret how you come across later. That's how I like to behave. I think it's okay. I think in this time when people say things that can be very challenging and damaging, it is okay for you to take a stand for your own energy first and then to incorporate your morals, your point of view, your passion as you feel fit and safe and appropriate when you're ready. You don't have to take a stand every time unless you want to. So I like to use the quote and sort of liberally adjust it from one of my heroines, Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent, right? You participate in how you feel, even when you think it's about other people judging you or talking down to you or disagreeing with you. No one can make you feel something unless you let them. So I like to say, no one can push your buttons without your consent. No one can get your goat without your consent. No one can make you mad or hurt your feelings without your consent. You get to decide and you get to bolster your inner reserve, your inner well of knowing, your mastery of self management and deciding what kind of evening you're going to have because no one else gets to control it. You do. You get to have fun. You get to sit on the couch with a 13-year-old and play, um, oh, what was that funny game? Um, Dangerous Beasts. It was a really funny game. Anyway, this is my encouragement to all of you as we enter the hot spots of dialogue and debate. As you feel your bucket getting drained, maybe recall some of the lessons in this short talk and see that you can always scoop more water from your well, and the draining of your bucket is your management. That's your deal. So take control of your own energy, your own leaky bucket, and know that energy is an inside job. And that's what I've got for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a message or comment below, and go well.